everybody, Brian Hunt here with you again. In this week's vlog, I'm going to be going through the last week of production, what I had going on, and what I have coming up. I'm actually driving right now towards my daughter's volleyball tournament that she's at, about an hour away. I had some interviews this morning that I needed to film, so she got a ride with some other friends. So I'm going over to pick her up and watch some of the last games. But let's go into this week of production, what had been happening, what was going on. A big thing that happened on Tuesday, actually, was I finally got one of my FX6s back. My first FX6 that I had that I ever purchased. I think I got it, and I have to look what year it was. I'm pretty sure it was 2021 I got it. It was one of the first ones in Canada, and I was very lucky to get it because then there was a shortage for a long time. People were waiting for like, I think upwards of 8 months to get their hands on it. So it was well used it a ton on different trips, and I had started having problems with the audio, the handle where the audio interfaces with it very early on. Probably something I should have brought back to them for warranty early on while it was still under warranty. But I had problems with just the connection there, and when it would mount things on to have like static, and sometimes it would work and sometimes it wouldn't. And it was really the connection from the handle into the body of the camera. And then I just started using it without the handle on, and just, not using for audio, using external audio recorder sometimes when I was doing interviews, or my FX30 going straight into that. Wasn't really ideal. Then I got to the point where I'm just buying a second FX6 that I can have. That's one I've been using most of this year and last year. Sony still has 0% financing, at least they do in Canada. So on their cinema line, so FX3, FX6, FX9, and the Brana you can get with 0% financing, a 2-year plan. So it's really a smart way to do it. I've done a video before, I'll link up here on why I think leasing cameras and paying them off that way is a better way to do it than buying them outright. Definitely here in Canada too, for the way taxing is. We have to write a camera off over 5 years, but typically you're not using the camera that long, so it does make sense to lease, in my opinion. Anyways, you can watch that video. It's a couple years old, but information is still valid that way. So back to my old FX6, I was having more and more issues with it, and I got to the point where the body wasn't even recording any audio at all. So I sent it into Sony to be assessed, Sony Professional Service in Canada. Sony came back and they said it needed a bunch of stuff. It needed a bunch of boards. So it needed, it was over $2,000. My bill was $2,500. And I knew that when they told me what parts they needed to replace, and they ordered them in. And I was weighing on it. It's like, well, it's still, I couldn't get another comparable camera for the same. I decided to go with the repair, but it took them forever to get the parts in that we needed. So literally, it was there for 3 months, and I got it back this week on Tuesday. It arrived back at the house. So that was great because it was a busy week with multiple shoots happening where I was out shooting stuff, and other guys on my team that work with me were out shooting stuff as well. So I'll start to go into that. But otherwise, the repair everything's great. I'll show you guys some images of the camera. It's still scratched up a bit. They actually reset the hours on it when they did the repair, so I don't know what my operating hours were on it, but they would have been very high. I used it. It was the primary camera for, 3-4 years before sending it in for repair. That's a pretty good run on the camera. So Monday this week, I was not on a shoot. I was just home and getting stuff ready and getting stuff prepared for the next week of shooting, the block of shooting that was going to be very busy. And so the Tuesday was a shoot again for the ski resort that I have shown you in some of the past vlogs that I do a bunch of work with. We were doing another shoot with them with talent, with hired talent coming up from Toronto mainly. Bringing them up, we were doing kind of a lifestyle shoot, so going to do some of the activities they have. Challenge of that day was weather again. It's going to be the theme of this whole winter. But that was the challenge that day, and that was the challenge on was the weather again, and with talent making their way up to us. The place, the location we were filming at, the resort to my house is about 10-minute drive, so very close. But for people coming up out of the city, there was taking them a long time. There was one of the talent that actually did get stuck in a ditch somewhere and went to a ditch off the road because of the snow. Their car ended up being okay, but they had to wait to get towed out, and they were okay, thankfully. But yeah, that was another day that it was pretty cold out. We had some things where we were going to shoot one of those slide rides, almost like a roller coaster type thing. They call it a Ridge Runner. And we were getting up on course. We used to do this a lot in the summertime, is get up into the course, but we do this in the winter. And of course, there's been loads and loads of snow, so we were trekking through a bunch of snow. I have some Insta 360 stuff of me leaving and kind of going out. That was a bit easier than climbing in, but you're up to past your knee in snow and dredging through there. But I got some great shots of that. I got some some drone footage there, a bunch of other lifestyle stuff inside with them. And some tubing. It was good. It was a good day. We got a lot of great looking content, and it looked beautiful out. The people that we had hired were all great, so that was a good day. And that was Tuesday. And then Wednesday was another shoot on a hill as well with the ski resort. But this time it was for skiing and snowboarding content and doing a bunch of stuff in the ski and snowboard park. And it had dumped on snow the night before, so we started getting some just shots of people slashing through the snow and getting some transition shots like that. We use a bunch in the videos where people are shooting up the snow and they're skiing through it. We did that a whole bunch of times and got some great stuff. I was super stoked on it. The light was a bit flat, but the sun came out, some kind of came back out again. But then we went to the park. We had a great group of guys that were could shred the park and ride really well on skis and on boards. And so that was fun. I was using my 10 mil Lowell lens for a lot of it. It was almost like that fisheye kind of look. Yeah, I'll show you some clips from that here. But it was a great, super fun shoot. We got a ton of stuff done. It was interesting. I was basically shooting between the Lowell 10 mil super wide and my Sigma 60 to 600. So I was using that to get my long lens stuff on tripod, stuff of them coming down towards camera on the snow. So very different lenses, but awesome for getting, different looks, different kind of coverage. The 60 to 600, I've done a review on that lens before. I demoed it from Sigma for a few months before I decided to buy it, and I actually sold my Sony 200 to 600 for the Sigma because so it's a different day now. I had to cut on my recording yesterday because I had some phone calls coming through that I had to take. So today now is Sunday, and I just finished up another interview shoot, really quick interview outside with a person that's in high school for this other project I'm working on. Just needed some sound bites with somebody that was a youth, and that was kind of the only time that worked. So that is kind of the wrap of this week of production. And I'm driving back in snow again to get back to my place. So it's been an interesting week. Thursday, I was filming some corporate stuff. So a series of corporate videos. We did about there were 6 modules, and each module had like 20 or so different kind of sections to it. So it was a full day of doing these things at teleprompter with a talent that I've shot stuff with before. She reads off teleprompter amazingly well. It was pretty boring content what we were doing, but videos that we're also going to be editing. And then we just had that set up on a backdrop that the client already had. We were doing it at the one of the client's houses, actually, in the Toronto area, set up. Then we're just using 600D with a softbox, some negative fill, and a Nanlite tube as a bit of a hair light. Then had the talent mic'd up with one of the Sony mics, and then also with a boom to them with the Sanken shotgun mic as well for double miking them that way. Um, so that went well. That was a long day because, again, it was another couple hours of driving. And then on the Friday, I was supposed to be going to a shoot in the Muskoka areas at a camp that I've been doing work with for a long time. They do stuff with school retreats and other things in the wintertime. So I was on my way up there. So I was driving up early morning to get there for kind of sunrise. And there was some snow squall warnings, which is, when snow can come off the lake or different areas and just be kind of like there's not really radar. They don't know what's going to happen, but there's risks of things just being able to happen like that. So I got into a part of the road on the Highway 400, and it was complete whiteout. Like I couldn't see. I was going 10 kilometers an hour. It was rough. So I had to call the client, and I turned around. I actually did some stuff to my Insta360 Go here. Okay, update. I've had to make a decision and turn around to head back home. I was going farther north, and it's going to be going through more and more of a band of this snow, and it became complete whiteout when it's just snowing so much you can't see anything. And again, I'm on the highway. I was up, going 10, 20 kilometers an hour on a 100-kilometer highway because you just could not see anything. It's hard to make calls like that with clients sometimes. I've only had to do this a few times when the conditions are so bad weather-wise, but we're gonna have to reschedule. It's unfortunate. There was gonna be some great group of people that we're gonna be shooting with today that are already up there. That's just safety-wise and stuff. I don't even know if I would get there. I was gonna be an hour late as it was. Like just timing was going so slow, and yeah. It just maybe it wasn't worth it. So called the client. They totally understood. We had a backup day already scheduled. So we're gonna have to try to figure that out and get that done. We just wanted to get this snow when it looks like this too. I mean, I'm sure there'll still be great snow when we have our backup day in a couple of weeks. But the snow looks so good right now. It looks amazing. If actually we want to capture, it's just the problem when you have such good snow and it's snowing so much is traveling. So this has been, wow. I haven't had a winter like this in a while, driving wise. So we're on our way back home. And so, from there, I drove back down to my hometown. And as I got into the hometown, it was sunny out and, looking great. And luckily, it kind of worked out timing-wise. There was another project I'm working on for a TV show with Ascend TV. And it is an episode that's going to be on surfing the Great Lakes and surfing the Great Lakes close to where I live. So there's a friend that actually opened a surf shop and surf restaurant. It's called the Georgian-based Surf Club. We're doing a story with him, and I've got footage with him surfing before, but we're going out to shoot some more surfing, and there was thought that there could be some surf. Pretty challenging when it's in the winter like this. The guys are brave going out when it's this cold. There was also a lot of ice buildup, so we have to be careful where they're going. But waves weren't as great as they were hoping, but I did get a couple shots with them, and that's kind of the nature of shooting surf like that in the Great Lakes. It's all really just because of wind and weather that causes the waves to come in, and they can be quite big. I can show you guys some footage from years before where it looks pretty awesome. But it's like they might see the weather forecast a few days before or a week before and be like, hey, it could be some wind going this way. Then they're waiting and they're looking at buoys in the water and they're going to check out spots and see stuff. So we need some more footage of that for the project. So it's kind of like on-call things, and hopefully I'm around or somebody else that works with me can run out and shoot some stuff as well. So that will be going on for the next month for sure, trying to get those shots that we need. Got a few things in the can yesterday, but not everything I needed. So we're on Friday, I should say. And then on Saturday, there were some other interviews I did in the morning for another project. I'm actually shooting a series of interviews for that tomorrow, about 5 or 6 sit-down interviews But these were two different ones that I needed, and it's just the people weren't available on those days that we were shooting the other interviews. One wanted to look a bit more casual, do that outside, and the other one was a sit-down interview. I just, you know, didn't want to take too much of the person's time, so I lit that very simply with ambient light that was coming into the room and the Falcon Eyes panel light, which is, you know, basically I think the aperture lights they've done are like a kind of a rip off of this one, because these Falcon Eyes lights that are like this I've had for years, probably over 10 years, and they're great for that kind of thing. They're super light. I'm going to do a video on them later. It's probably one of my favorite lights, just in the sense of how quick it is to set up, how light the light is, how great it is for travel, and it produces some great soft light. So, you know, can you light things better? Can you spend more time on it? Totally. But for a lot of style of some of these things I do, and for dock style stuff, you need to either be able to shoot stuff maybe with no lights and figure out a spot that works like that, or use very minimal lights, because again, just timing and how long you have with a person and etc. So always trying to make things look its best, but also being conscious of how much time that's going to take. So that was this week's of production. This is kind of the week of production, and it was a good one. Going into a thing next week that I'll update you guys on after it's done, but I'm going to be gone for half the week with my daughter in Orlando for a volleyball tournament. So, but I do have the first 3 days before that is shoots each day. So I'll update you guys on how that went, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks so much for watching. If you could think of subscribing to the channel, that really helps. Give the video a like if this information was good for you to see. If there's more style of stuff or things you'd like me to talk about, please let me know in the comments. If you like the style of delivering it just in a vehicle, my van, driving to a job or driving from a job, let me know if this works or if this is distracting. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you in the next one.